Is the Holy Grail really just a stone? If I own it, can I drink Christ's actual blood? When picking this topic, did I choose poorly or did I choose wisely? Stick around and you might just find out the answers to these questions on this episode of Unsolved Mysteries. Solved! Welcome back to the show, Mystery Solvers. It's Saturday again, which means it's been a full week since the last episode came out. Since it is the most mysterious day of the week, I think you all know what that means. It means we're going to solve another mystery.
Hell yeah.
As always, I am your humble host and PhD in solving unsolved mysteries, Dr. Chad Kimmons, here with my co-host and self-proclaimed Lord of the Mer People, Dr. Cassandra Cherry.
Glub glub, bitches.
I don't think you've ever actually claimed that, but now you...
I'll claim it now. You said it. I got it.
And apparently Queen of the Red Lights.
Oh, no. That story, no.
From what Casey told me the other night, but we won't get into that.
You know my terrible, stark, dirty secret.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
A little tired, but whatever.
Well, I
Try to
feel
keep
that.
my...
Yeah, I got myself like a full cup of coffee. We're all good.
I'm sorry, you got a full cup of what now?
Coffee.
You're from the Midwest.
Yeah, but that doesn't stop me from saying things like caramel macchiato. Apparently, according to one of my southern friends, I say it one half southern, one half northern, and I don't know which half is which.
Caramel is Midwestern. Pretty much everywhere else says caramel.
Yeah, well, they're wrong.
And I know I've always pronounced it macchiato, so
Yeah, it's a macchiato.
Must be northern.
Yeah.
It does have kind of a Wisconsin twang to it. Macchiato.
Macchiato.
Well, as you might have guessed from the questions, our topic today is the legendary Holy Grail, because I figured we've done, well, Colt and I did the Ark of the Covenant, and then you and I did Garden of Eden, so let's just round out the trifecta and cover the last major mystery of the Bible.
Yeah. I remember hearing something about blood, and for some reason, it was just like, Jesus is a vampire. And I'm like, wait, no, we're drinking his blood. That's the other way around.
Yeah, if I own it, can I drink Christ's actual blood?
Yeah.
I've never heard that. I'm just curious.
Well, we're gonna find out now, aren't we?
I doubt it.
We can't run the experiment from the safety and comfort of our own homes.
I guess. Well, we gotta have the thing first, and honestly, we'll get into that.
Yeah.
But if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's dive right on in.
Yeah.
And we're gonna first talk about what the Holy Grail is for anybody who does not know. Basically, I don't have this part scripted. I'm just gonna freestyle the Last Supper.
Yes, like a rap.
Except not a rap.
We should rap. I'm terrible at it. We should do it.
Let's not. I want to gain listeners, not alienate the ones we have.
Fair.
The Last Supper, for those who have never read the Bible, don't know what this is. Basically, Jesus got his disciples together. He knew that somebody was going to betray him. It wound up being Judas Iscariot. But that's not really important to what we're talking about. Because at the Last Supper, he broke up pieces of bread and passed them out and said, "This is my body, eat of my body, blah, 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 blah." And then he had a cup of wine, and he said, "This wine represents my blood." And he passed the cup around, and everybody drank from it. And that's where we get the sacrament from in Catholic religion.
And that's how cannibalism was invented.
I mean, I feel like people were eating other people well before that.
Fair.
But that's where the sacrament from the Catholic religion comes from, where you eat the little tasteless, what is it?
The little wafers.
Unleavened bread or whatever.
Yeah. Did you not have a version of the sacrament in your church where you grew up?
Yeah, but we only did it once a year, and it was Ritz crackers and grape juice.
Yeah, I remember we did that in our church, especially on all the holidays.
Where, you would go up to the altar, and there's two ways to do it. I think the Catholic way is the priest puts it on your tongue.
That's kind of creepy, to be honest.
It might not be all Catholics, but I know I've been to a Catholic church where they did that. I did not partake.
Valid.
In the church that I grew up in, it was just, hey, pass around this plate of wafers, and then pass around this thing that has little tiny cups of grape juice.
Yeah, that's what we did.
I do know some churches use actual wine, but it's like super watered down so that like children can partake.
Mm-hmm. You don't want the kids to get lost in the sauce.
And that way, you don't have drunk people at church.
Mm-hmm.
But the cup that held the wine is supposedly the Holy Grail. And it has been sought by lots of people throughout time. And we're going to talk about it.
All right. One of those people was Indiana Jones. I know that much.
Yep, and one of the questions was a reference to that. There's as we'll see later, there are people who claim to have it, but there's no way of knowing what the Holy Grail actually is. So
yeah.
But before we get into all the theories, let's talk about some mentions of the Holy Grail throughout time. So the first mention of the Grail is in Percival, Le Conte du Graal, or The Story of the Grail, this is a French name, I believe it is Christian de Troyes. Is how you would pronounce that?
Christian de Troyes? Something like that. You always gotta make French names fancier, like 25% fancy.
I'm not fancy, so I'll leave that to you.
Fair.
But he claims that he was working from a source book that was given to him by his patron, Count Philip of Flanders. And in this poem, which is incomplete, by the way, dated sometime between 1180 and 1191, the object that he talks about has not actually yet acquired any of the implications of being holy that it would, like, later on.
It was just a cup.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean...
Got some filigree, it's fine. It didn't just start pouring blood out on the middle of the table, like, drink me and be saved. And they're like, oh, what? No, it didn't.
I don't think that happened.
Probably
I wasn't there.
Otherwise, they would have known, right?
I feel like they wouldn't have thought that was holy.
It's what it sounds like it would do, though. Just, like, sacrificial things of blood and flesh don't sound extremely holy, but here we are.
Well, I mean, it was a metaphor.
Yeah, true.
It's a metaphor, Cass.
I know, but you take it to 11 to be funny.
They're not literally, like, just ripping pieces of Jesus's, like, hey, I'll take a leg or a thigh if you got one, and then they all grab straws and start drinking his blood. That's not how it happened. But yeah, basically, I don't know if they didn't know that it was the one that Jesus used, and so that's why it wasn't attributed as being holy, or if it just, like, later on, someone would be like, oh, that must have been the Holy Grail, or, whatever.
Because, like, how would they know?
Basically, while dining in the magical abode of the Fisher King, Percival witnessed a wondrous procession in which the word youths reminds me of New Girl and Schmidt just being like, there are youths everywhere.
These youths today. Shonen.
But basically, he witnessed a procession.
Yeah?
Literally says a wondrous procession. This procession of young people carrying amazing objects from one chamber to another, just passing in front of him while, before each course of the meal. Mm-hmm. And the first was a young man carrying a bleeding lance, which I believe was supposed to be the Spear of Destiny, the spear that was used to stab Jesus when he was on the cross.
Yeah.
My research didn't say what all of these things were, just I feel like that's what that's supposed to be.
Yeah, like that makes the most sense. And it is still bleeding to this day.
Then there were two boys carrying candelabras. I have no idea what those are supposed to be.
Maybe like a type of menorah?
I don't know. Maybe. Finally, there was a beautiful young girl, and she was bearing an elaborately decorated graal, or grail. Mm-hmm. Which, side note, I believe that young woman was somebody, not Guinevere, but somebody else from the Arthurian legends.
Huh.
Is who that young woman was supposed to be.
I know two women from Arthurian legends. Guinevere and the witch. Fairy. Mab? No. Morgan. That's
Mab
the
is
name.
The Dresden Files.
Yeah, sorry. I was just cycling through the names of, like, evil fae that were, like, in my databanks, and I was like, Wait, which one? It starts with an M and has syllables?
Which, it's been debated, I believe, whether or not Morrigan was the Morrigan.
Yeah.
Like the chooser of the slain from Celtic mythology.
Mm-hmm.
But, which, I mean, would make sense, but she would be way more powerful than that if she were the actual Morrigan.
I think she was probably the Morrigan, because I remember reading something about how art was the Welsh word for bear, and there's like some etymological things about how the Anglo-Saxons did not speak the word for bear. They said brún, which is brown, and that became modern bear, but you don't say the actual word for bear because that summons the bear, and the bear will kick your ass. But art is the Welsh word for bear, and Arthur is actually a Welsh base name, and they argue that Arthur, before he was reappropriated by the Anglo-Saxons, was actually a Welsh hero. And so when they say art for the word for bear, they're sicking King Arthur on the Anglo-Saxons, which I think is a lovely theory, and that's what I want, actually.
Okay, then.
So yeah, my vague knowledge of ancient history.
So,
where were we?
Oh yeah, the young girl. It definitely wasn't Morrigan, and I don't think it might have been Guinevere, but I don't remember. But it was somebody from Arthurian legend. Anyway, Christian refers to this object not as the Grail, but as just a Grail, or un Grail.
Yeah.
Showing that in this use, in its earliest literary context, it was just a common noun. It was just a grail.
Yeah.
And for him, it was a wide, somewhat deep dish or bowl. Mm-hmm. This says, interesting because it contained not a pike, salmon, or lamprey, as the audience may have expected for such a container.
I wouldn't have expected that.
Well, I believe the audience was, like, the people watching the procession.
Okay.
Like back then.
I suspect that this bowl contains a lamprey.
Oh my god! Did I not read this? Because instead, I'm oh my godding what I'm about to say.
Okay.
Instead, it had a single communion wafer, which provided sustenance for the Fisher King's crippled father.
A single wafer. I imagine it was elven leaven bread.
I don't know. I just know that a single wafer for a crippled old man. I don't think that's going to be enough sustenance. That is the first literary mention of the Holy Grail. Next up, we have Robert de Boron, or Robert de Boron.
Oh, Robert.
It was in the works of Robert de Boron that the Grail truly became the Holy Grail and assumed the form that everybody knows in like the Christian context. Mm-hmm. Because in his verse romance, Joseph de Arimathea, composed sometime between 1191 and 1202, Robert tells the story of Joseph of Arimathea, who acquired the Chalice of the Last Supper to collect Christ's blood once he was removed from the cross. Mm-hmm. And then Joseph is then thrown into prison, where Christ visits him and explains the mysteries of the blessed cup. And then upon his release, Joseph gathers his in-laws and other followers and all that, and they travel to the west, and he founds a dynasty of Grail keepers that eventually includes Percival, the first guy that we talked about.
Yeah.
I believe that eventually became the Round Table.
Huh. It just travels across the land to England somehow. Just like starts off in Jerusalem.
I guess. I don't know. I mean, it does say that they traveled to the west, so.
Yeah. How does it go all that way? It's so far. It's so far.
It's really not that far.
Yeah, but in olden days, when you didn't have like planes and trucks and everything, you just had like horses and carriages.
Still, I mean, it's only about as far as like it's like what, like half of the distance of the U.S. or some shit.
Yeah. But then you have to get across the channel, and that's its own little hullabaloo.
Yeah, well, I mean, boats existed in the 1200s.
Yeah, but it's just so specific.
It just reminds me of Colt. I was talking about something about Iceland or something during the Ninth Legion episode, and he was like, well, how did they get there? And I was like, they took boats, Colt. Like, boats have been around for a long time, buddy.
Yeah, but how did they get the boats? Were boats invented by this time period? Yes, Colt.
Later, the authors of the Vulgate cycle used the Grail as a symbol of divine grace. The Virgin Galahad, illegitimate son of Lancelot and Elaine, the world's greatest knight and the Grail bearer at the castle of Corbenic, is destined to achieve the Grail. And his spiritual purity is what makes him a greater warrior even than his illustrious father.
Oh.
This just sounds so, like, almost Freudian.
Yeah.
Like Lancelot was disappointed in his son, and so he's like, "You'll see, Papa, I'll become the Grail bearer."
Oh my gosh. You'll see, I can be special too. I may not have special virgin powers, but I can do it.
I'll show you. I'll show all of you. What are you talking about? It's just me and your mom. What the f***? But anyway, the Quest del Sant Graal, or the Quest of the Holy Grail, tells of the... God, I can't talk. Tells of the adventures of various Knights of the Round Table in their eponymous...
Eponymous?
Eponymous, is that... I'm trying to put too many syllables in it. Eponymous quest.
It's like, it's an anemone. It's an anemone.
You know what?
Anemone.
This story tells the adventures of the goddamn Knights of the Round Table in their quest. Some of them, including Percival and Bors the Younger, eventually joined Galahad and as his companions, and they're witnesses to his ascension to heaven.
Oh.
I'm not really familiar with Arthurian legends, so I don't know if any of this. I'm sure it's true in the story. So
I'm not as familiar with the end parts as I am with the beginning parts.
Yeah, I think that's what most people know is, hey, sword in the stone or sword in the lake or whatever, and hey, Arthur's the king.
Woohoo! And then Lancelot gets together with his queen, and then they elope, and then all of everything falls apart, and because he slept with his sister and had a son, and the son is going to destroy everything and tell the tale of King Arthur and his knights and all that.
Except, whatever.
And Merlin reverse ages. He Benjamin Buttons. It's weird.
Literally everything you're saying is news to me. I don't know much about the Arthurian legend. I was always, when it came to history, I was always more interested in like the Crusades and whatnot.
Oh yeah, the Crusades are fun.
Were they, though?
I mean, not for anyone experiencing them.
Were they fun, Cass?
I mean, insofar as they gave me Assassin's Creed, yes.
I believe it was the Third Crusade that Richard the Lionheart was a part of.
Yeah, I think so. Was that the last Crusade?
Yes.
Alright. And I only know that because of Robin Hood.
Oh, yeah. I forgot Richard the Lionheart was part of...
Yeah, the whole Robin Hood thing.
Well, one of the Robin Hoods, because...
Are there multiple Robin Hoods?
Historians believe that Robin Hood was less of a person and more of a concept, that people would, take up the mantle of Robin Hood.
Like Zorro.
Kind of, yeah. But, that's just the most well-known one.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Galahad ascends to heaven. And in the 15th century, this is the 1400s now,
yeah,
this interpretation were picked up by Thomas Malory in Le Mort d'Arthur.
Mm-hmm.
And this is apparently the most popular telling today.
Okay.
It is not explicit that the Holy Grail is never to be seen again on Earth in this story, but it is stated by Malory that since then there has been no knight capable of obtaining it.
Sorry, I didn't quite understand it. So I was like, what?
You don't understand it?
I probably didn't hear the words in the correct order.
Okay, so basically, it's not explicitly stated in the story that we will never see the Grail again.
Right.
But Thomas Malory posits, basically, that since then, there has not been, nor will there ever be, another knight who is capable of obtaining the Holy Grail, and therefore we will never see it again.
Well, I mean, Arthur is the once and future king. So, according to legend, he died, but he's supposed to come back when Britain needs him most, which apparently wasn't World War I or II.
Or Brexit.
Yeah.
So, in the wake of all these Arthurian romances and whatnot, there were several artifacts that became identified as the Holy Grail in medieval relic veneration.
Yeah.
Some of these are said to have been the vessel used at the Last Supper, but other details widely vary. And despite the prominence of all of the literature about the Grail, traditions about a Last Supper relic remained rare, in contrast to other items associated with Jesus' last days, such as the True Cross or the Holy Lance, which we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Holy Lance, Spear of Destiny. There was a guard that, again, for people who don't know, while Jesus was on the cross, there was a guard that stabbed him in the ribs with a spear or a lance, and it's called the Spear of Destiny or the Holy Lance. It's said to still have Jesus' blood on it.
Yeah, and I don't know why that's a holy instead of a cursed item, considering it stabbed the holy figure. And also, can we talk about how weird it is that someone's just like, I have the cup you drank from last night. Here, let me catch your blood in it.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Someone had, like, a sort of yandere syndrome there. That's a little bit of a weird fetish.
It went from metaphorical to, like, literal.
And just, like, 0 to 80. There we go.
I think the reason that the Spear of Destiny is supposed to be a holy item is because A, it has Jesus' blood on it, and B, because that was what finally killed Jesus. Because the guard was basically like, I can't watch this, like, he's suffering, I'm just gonna kill him.
Oh, mercy kill, rather than like, aha!
Like, so he stabbed him to make him bleed out so that he wouldn't have to suffer being on the cross for days and days and, like, starving to death and shit.
Yeah.
And if that had not, basically it was what killed Jesus, which allowed him to come back in 3 days, and, he died for our sins and this, and that, and the other. And I think that's why it's supposed to be holy.
Yeah, the whole thing.
So there is one tradition that predates the Grail romances, and that's in the 7th century. The pilgrim Arculf reported that the Last Supper chalice was displayed near Jerusalem, and in the wake of Robert de Boron's Grail works, several other items came to be claimed as the true Last Supper vessel.
Yeah.
In the late 12th century, one was said to be in Byzantium. Albrecht von Scharfenberg's Grail romance, Der Junger Titrul, associated it explicitly with the Arthurian Grail, but he claimed it was only a copy.
Okay.
And this item was said to have been looted in the 4th Crusade. Apparently there were 4 Crusades.
Huh.
I thought there were only 3. Anyway, it was said to have been looted in the 4th Crusade and brought to Troy in France, but it was lost during the French Revolution. It has also been, the Grail has also been tied to the Templars, which we'll get into in a bit, and the Cathars.
The Cathars were very cathartic.
I don't know if that's where that comes from.
I don't know either.
But the Cathar were basically a French sect in the 1100s, and they believed that Satan had tricked angels and put them in earthly bodies.
I mean, that would explain some things.
And they also believed that the purpose of life was to renounce the pleasures of the world, and make one's way back to heaven.
Oh, so they're going Buddhist.
Kind of. I mean, they rejected the Catholic Church, and because they were disillusioned with Christianity, and they believed that most Bible books were inspired by Satan.
I love them. That's hilarious and an amazing take. Oh, because like when you go into the history of how the Bible came to be, and you hear about like how the Orthodox Church or the Catholic Church, it was joined at that point, was like going around and stamping out the Gnostic sects and like just picking and choosing what they wanted to go in the Bible. I mean, they got a nice mythology around it, but really there were people involved. And like the Dead Sea Scrolls, where were those for the last, I don't know, couple millennia?
Basically, the Cathar believed that there were 3 ranks within their belief system. And like, you had to shun the worldly pleasures so that you could rank up in your next life, and then like, when you finally got the highest rank or something, I can't remember exactly how it works. I just kind of click notes.
It sounds like it works a little bit like sociology or Scientology. That's the word. What did I say? Sociology? Damn it.
If you know more about sociology than I do, I guess you can make that claim.
Nope. Scientology.
The only reason I put all that in there is because I had no idea who the f***ing Cathar were. So I figured I'd, allow the listeners to know if they don't know.
Yeah, because I didn't know about them either. That's neat.
So, now we're going to talk about theories, about where it's at.
All right.
There are several theories. There are only 2 that have officially been associated with the Grail that survive today. The first, the Sacro Catena, or the Sacred Basin, also known as the Genoa Chalice, is a green glass dish that is held it's kept at the Genoa Cathedral, and it is said to have been used at the Last Supper. We don't know its provenance, and there are 2 different accounts of how it was brought to Genoa by Crusaders in the 12th century.
Okay.
By the way, those pictures, it's the green glass dish.
Yeah, do they have an account of how it was broken in the base?
Yes, I think. Yeah, I'm getting to that.
Question mark? All right, cool. Spoilers.
Because I remembered reading it, but I couldn't remember if I put it in my notes.
Okay, good.
But yeah, it's basically just like a big glass bowl that they thought was made of emerald.
It's very pretty. I don't know if you can get emerald to do that.
By the way, all of there's only like 3 pictures, but if you are in the Discord server, I'll be posting these in the pictures channel when we get this episode live. So if you want to see what these look like, it'll be in there. But it wasn't associated with the Last Supper until later, in the wake of all of the Grail romances and whatnot. And its first known association is in Jacobus de Varagin's Chronicle of Genoa in the late 13th century, which draws on the Grail literary tradition. During Napoleon's conquests in the early 19th century, the Catena was moved, and I guess it got broken, which revealed that it was just glass and not emerald.
Yeah, rip them. They had such high hopes.
I guess it doesn't say how it got broken.
Just that it was.
Just that it got broken while it was being moved.
Mm-hmm. Someone dropped it and was like, oh shit, damn it. Mm-hmm. Does anyone have any super glue?
You don't want to be the guy that reveals that the Holy Grail is not really the Holy Grail.
Yeah, honestly.
Although they do still contend that it was the chalice or whatever that was used at the Last Supper. Mm-hmm. Just that instead of being emerald, it wasn't. It was glass. So,
honestly, makes a whole lot more sense. I don't trust any Holy Grail that looks all fancy and sparkly and bedazzled and everything, because that's not what he would have been drinking out of, because Jesus was poor.
I think the reason you don't trust that is because of Indiana Jones.
I mean, also valid. What happened to the people who chose the wrong cup?
Because I've never actually seen any of the Indiana Jones movies, but wasn't it like the least flashy one was the correct one or whatever?
Yeah, because that makes the most sense. Jesus wasn't a king. He was a pauper.
He was a carpenter.
He was a he was a carpenter. I can't speak in a normal American accent.
He was a copper. Yeah, see?
But seriously, why do people keep insisting this fancy ass goblet is clearly what he was drinking out of at the Last Supper? Do you guys know the man at all?
The other one that is actually associated with the Grail is the Holy Chalice of Valencia, and it is an agate dish. Agate? Is that how you pronounce that word?
Yeah, agate.
The Holy Chalice of Valencia. It's an agate dish with a mounting for use as a chalice. It basically... So if you've seen Harry Potter...
Yeah.
Kind of looks like the Triwizard Cup, but made of gold.
It does.
It's got little handles on it and whatnot.
Kind of heart-shaped.
It looks
like it could teleport you to a graveyard where an ancient evil wizard Adolf is gonna, try to suck out your soul.
I would say old. He wasn't ancient. He was born in, the 30s or something?
Yeah, but evil aged him. It's terrible on your skin.
Well, I mean, being killed didn't help.
Yeah, no moisturizer's gonna fix that.
Anyway, this one may date back to Greco-Roman times, but it's unclear exactly how old it is. And again, we don't know its provenance before 1399, when it was gifted to Martin I of Aragon. By the 14th century, there was an elaborate tradition that had developed with this object that it was the Last Supper chalice.
Yeah.
And tradition. It has very similar aspects of all of the Grail literature.
Yeah.
But there are several major differences suggesting that this was a completely different tradition entirely. It is not associated with Joseph of Arimathea or with Jesus' blood. It is said to have been taken to Rome by St. Peter and later given to St. Lawrence for safekeeping. Mm-hmm. And early references don't actually call it the Grail. The first evidence of it being connected to the Grail is from the 15th century. Mm-hmm. The monarchy, I guess, sold this cup in the 15th century to the Valencia Cathedral, where it still remains on display, as you see in the picture there. And that's when they kind of started being like, this is the Holy Grail! Ooh. In the 20th century, there were a series of a bunch of new items that people were starting to unearth and be like, this is it! This is the Grail! One of these is the Nantios Cup. We don't know the exact origins of this one, but it seems that this relic came into the possession of the Powell family of Nantios from Strata, Florida Abbey during the dissolution of the monasteries. And according to tradition, the Nantios Cup is the Holy Grail, the cup from which Christ and his disciples drank at the Last Supper.
Okay.
And since the 19th century, it has been claimed that this particular cup possesses a supernatural power to heal, and it used to be lent to people who were sick in exchange for a generous donation of, like a gold watch or gold
And how
coins.
many of them survived?
How many of... Oh, it didn't say. My guess is not many.
Yeah, I'd have to be like, and okay, so they donated a lot of money to drink out of the fancy cup, and how many of them lived?
Right. Shun modern medicine, drink from this cup.
Yeah, have leeches eat your blood.
Well, no, this is the 19th century, so, no, it would have been the 1800s, so yeah. Actually, drinking from that cup might have done more good than modern medicine at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you have ghosts in your blood. Do some cocaine about it, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, literally, cocaine in cough medicine. That was the level of medicine we had. That was great.
And trace amounts in Coca-Cola. That's where it got its name.
That's why it was addicting.
Yeah. So basically, we're like, hey, give us some gold and we'll let you drink from this and you'll get better. It was the tradition. So
Okay.
There is one that I lied. There was another picture, but I couldn't find any information about it. There was one that was like part of a wooden bowl that people thought might have been what Jesus drank from, which makes way more sense than any of this other shit.
I mean, honestly, yeah.
But anyway, the Antioch Chalice it's a silver cup, and it is encased within an elaborate open work gilded silver footed shell.
That's a lot of words.
Yeah, it's essentially, so the Antioch Chalice was just a silver cup that basically, it was found in Syria in 1910 with a bunch of other items, including a large cross and 3 book covers. They believe that the cross was probably the true cross, which, I mean, if they believe that this is the Holy Grail, why wouldn't they believe that was the true cross?
Yeah.
These were all believed to have belonged to a church in Antioch, which is one of the 5 cities that led the early Christian church, along with Rome and Constantinople, which is now Istanbul. Because, if you've got a date, Constantinople should be waiting in Istanbul. Okay, I was waiting for you to pick it up because I was like, please tell me she's heard that song.
I heard the song, I just couldn't remember the lyrics. All I remembered was the tune. And then, it's Istanbul, not Constantinople. Now it's Istanbul, not Constantinople. Constantinople, why did Constantinople get the works? That's nobody's business but the Turks. And so...
Okay.
My knowledge is incomplete.
I know there's a line in there. Why'd they change it? I don't know.
Yeah. People liked it better that way.
Anyway, so Antioch was one of the 5 cities, which were Rome, Constantinople, Jerusalem, and Alexandria. Which, if you know the history of most of these places, granted they were probably all holy cities at some point, but if you know the bloody histories of all of these places... These do not seem like places that back then would have been associated with Christianity.
Or maybe that's exactly how they would be associated with Christianity. Because early Christianity was heavily persecuted.
No, I mean, like, they weren't. Never mind.
Huh?
Nothing. Never mind.
Oh, no, please.
Well, I don't know how to word what I'm trying to say, so it doesn't matter.
That's okay. I barely word at all most days.
Oh, I see what it was saying. It's saying that it's a silver cup that is... has been encased inside of another cup, essentially. Because it says that when it was discovered, the inner cup was thought to be the Holy Chalice, and the exterior was added in the 1st century after the death of Christ to honor it, like to make it more fancy, I guess.
I guess that makes sense. I can see that happening, and that being the reason why the Holy Grail is now fancy. That makes sense.
But apparently it was displayed as the Holy Grail at the Chicago World's Fair in 1933.
And they believed it?
I guess. And later in 1950, it was sold to the cloisters in New York.
Okay. Yep, just selling holy objects. It's fine. Not going to get beaten by Jesus with a bullwhip.
This next one is a little more modern, because in 2018, a medieval history lecturer named Margarita Torres and an art historian named Jose Miguel Ortega del Rio claimed that the Holy Grail is inside the Basilica of San Isidoro in the North Spain, in Leon.
Yeah.
They wrote a book about it called Los Reyes del Grial, or the Kings of the Grail.
Mm-hmm.
This is the one in the picture, because this one is made of gold and onyx, and it's got precious stones all over it. And it's actually 2 goblets that were fused together, one facing up and one facing down.
That makes sense, because I was wondering why it was all cattywampus.
Yeah, like you can kind of see that in the picture.
Yeah.
And basically they had been investigating Islamic remains in the Basilica when they came across these medieval Egyptian parchments that mentioned that the Holy Chalice had been taken from Jerusalem to Cairo and then given to an emir who ruled an Islamic kingdom on Spain's Mediterranean coast.
Okay. That kind of tracks, I guess.
And basically he was given this kingdom for offering help to Egypt during a famine. He then gifted the chalice as a peace offering to the Christian king Ferdinand, and the goblet has been in the basilica's possession since the 11th century, and it's in plain sight in the church's basement museum since like the 1950s.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Like, that is a lot more sensical a place for it to be than just, like, Arthurian England.
Well, that's because, we have a physical object and we can trace it. So
yeah.
It makes way more sense. Now, is
yeah.
it the Holy Grail?
Probably not.
So we got 2 more.
Okay.
This one's not so much a theory about where it is, but during the Third Reich, Hitler was obsessed with the legend of Arthur and also with becoming the new Messiah.
Yeah, he was all into that metaphysical stuff.
So to substantiate his claims, he wanted to find the Grail. And he entrusted this task to his most trusted man, Himmler.
Yep.
Himmler, through his own research, was led to Montserrat, which is a mountain in Catalonia. Uh-huh. And he didn't find the Grail there, but there was a great library kept there that he did more research, and that led him to search elsewhere. But what's funny about this is that, like, the main monk, like, just let him in, let him do what he wanted, and all of the other monks, when he left, they were just like, don't ever let people like that in here again. Like, that dude's a bad dude.
Yeah, it's like inviting a person to, like, your friend server, and it's like, hey guys, meet this guy, and then you thought he was cool, and then he starts spouting, like,
Nazi propaganda?
yeah, and it's just like, excuse me? You invited him? I'm so sorry. Hold on, just let me kick him real fast, okay? I'm so sorry.
Look, he told me that his swastika tattoo was going to be a maze. He just didn't have enough money to get it finished. I really didn't know.
Yeah, like, he said he was Navajo, and, like, I mean, I didn't really believe it, because, like, the Navajo were like, we're not gonna be doing that anymore, even though it's part of our heritage, because it got, it's just like, well,
Side note,
man.
not that you were, like, trying to be offensive or anything.
I'm not trying, no.
The Navajo do not actually like being called the Navajo, because that name was given to them by the white man. They prefer to be called the Dene, which is what they call themselves.
Oh, yeah. I knew that they were the Dene people, but I hadn't heard that they did not want to be called Navajo.
Yeah, I mean...
Okay. Because, like, even in Oklahoma, everyone around here, even, like, some of my native friends are, like, still call them Navajo, so that's news to me.
Probably because it's just easier to do that around white people, especially white people in the Midwest.
Oh, yeah, valid.
I mean, it's like, I'm pansexual, but I just tell people I'm bisexual because, I don't even know what being pansexual means, so.
Are you sexually attracted to pants?
Yeah. So how am I supposed to expect these people to know? So it's just easier to be like, yeah, I like men and women, I'm bi. Mm-hmm. But it's way more complicated than that.
Oh, yeah. Like me trying to explain, yeah, I'm bi, ace, demi.
How can you be bisexual and ace? Well, I'm attracted to both men and women, but I don't like sex.
Yeah, there's this whole grayscale. You add it to the hue, and then whole Pam, there you go.
People can be two things, Deborah.
Yeah. Deborah.
I always say Deborah instead of Karen.
Mm-hmm.
Not like, I don't know, unless it's like a legit Karen. I don't know, I just like...
Oh, yeah, because there are different degrees of Karen. There is the let me speak to your manager Karen. There's also the indignant Helen, but Deborah sounds a lot more like 40s. Like mid-40s, you know?
She's a confused Gen Xer.
Yes.
Whereas a Karen can be any age, but is like just the worst.
Oh, yeah. Extremely hostile.
Yeah, so I just wanted to mention that real quick about Hitler and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it be weird if somebody like zoned out during this and then that's where they came in? Yeah, so I just wanted to mention Hitler real quick. You know, shout out to my boy.
And they're like, excuse me? Are we on the Jimmy Dore show? I don't understand.
So, the last one that I have in my notes is that there is a town in Scotland called Roslan.
Yeah.
And in this town, there's the chapel, the Roslan Chapel, and it is said to perhaps be the resting place of the Holy Grail, because the Knights Templar were originally founded to help people on their holy pilgrimages, to like protect them as they were going to the Holy Land.
Yeah.
But eventually that became an obsolete job, I guess, if that's what you want to call it.
Yeah.
So they started amassing great wealth, and they became bankers and whatnot, and this led the French King Philip IV, who was poor as dirt, to round up all the Templar and kill them so he could take their treasure.
Because that's what you do with the Knights Templar.
I mean, he needed money, they had money, supposedly.
Jeez.
However, legend says that a few of them fled to the Roslan Chapel with their treasure and stashed it there somewhere. It's never been found. I believe there's an entire... and actually, this was... The Roslan Chapel was used in the Da Vinci Code.
That's why it was familiar.
They actually shot, in the movie, they actually shot on location at the Roslan Chapel.
Good on them for that historical accuracy.
Yeah, apparently Dan Brown, wasn't that his name, Dan Brown?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, apparently, also, obviously, Da Vinci Code is a work of fiction, but apparently he did his research and there were quite a few, historical accuracies in it. So.
Oh yeah, Dan Brown is a fantastic writer. I highly recommend the Da Vinci Code if you haven't read it.
But yeah, so it's if it is there, it's never been found. So, and that there were a few others that I didn't feel like were worth mentioning because it was like, well, this guy said that he might have it in his basement, kind of thing.
Everyone claims they have the Holy Grail. Everyone wants to rule the world. They got it.
My Nightmare Before Christmas Oogie Boogie mug is the true Holy Grail. So yeah, so now we have what facts can be had about this, and we have the theories. So Cass, what do you think? Are any of these the Holy Grail? If not, where is it?
I don't think any of these are the Holy Grail. Like, if the Holy Grail has not been destroyed, because definitely one, the Holy Grail was not any sort of fancy thing. It was just a frickin' cup. It was just like a plain-ass cup you'd find on any dinner table. But because of that, or
possibly a wooden bowl.
Or possibly a wooden bowl. I don't mind the theory of the wooden bowl because that's what they did too. Man, I just really want to drink an entire bowl of chai tea right now.
Anyways, wine.
Not wine, because if I drank an entire bowl of wine, I would be shit-faced for the rest of the day.
I would just want to drink an entire bowl of Jesus blood right now. Fuck, I'd really go for some Christ blood, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh, hell yeah. Just the picture of the blood dripping down your chin like a vampire.
I'm not a vampire, but I just...
Tune in next week for our next mystery. Is Chad Kimmons a vampire?
No. If I were a vampire, I wouldn't have high blood pressure, for one.
Fair.
I wouldn't have blood pressure, for one.
I wouldn't have blood.
Except for that which I took from others through exsanguination.
Yeah.
Exsanguination, boys and girls, is a word that means to let the blood. Not like to let it do something, but just to let it, like to bleed someone out. That's exsanguination.
Yep, just stab someone and let the blood flow.
Okay, so...
Anyways, as I was saying, probably regular cup, regular bowl, something like that. It's in a museum somewhere. No one has identified it correctly as the Grail, and it's just sitting on a shelf gathering dust.
It's just like an archaeological find that someone was like, oh, we'll put this with this display, and it's not.
Yeah, I think it hasn't left Israel, probably. It's just, it was just a cup. It's an archaeological find, but it wasn't seen as potentially valuable enough to send halfway across a continent because it was just a cup.
All right. I want to come up with some fantastical bullshit because we haven't done that in a while.
I mean,
but I don't.
Last episode we were talking about aliens and secret cults of artists.
Yeah, but when it came down to it, our theory was just that it was some random artist and a bunch of copycats. So
yeah, fair enough.
And John McCracken.
Yeah, it's not like John McCracken and Brendan Urie conspired to spirit the Holy Grail away.
Or did they?
Or did they?
Dun, 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 dun.
Keep it away from our prying mortal lips.
I don't know. Yeah, that's probably... I don't think... I'm just going to leave it there. I don't think.
I mean, I don't think either. Thinking is pain on the brain.
I think it was probably destroyed at some point. Because it's not like Jesus brought a cup to the Last Supper and was like, hey guys, we're going to drink some wine out of this bitch-ass cup I have. Not bitch-ass, but cool-ass cup I have. I mean, it could have been a bitch-ass cup. We don't know.
We don't know. We can't look into the past with our elven eyes and see.
But like, so it probably belonged to the place where they were. I don't know if they had restaurants back then, but it probably belonged to the place where they had the Last Supper. And anyone who has worked in the food service industry knows that you go through bowls and plates and silverware and shit like crazy. So, I mean, some dude probably stole it and took it home.
I would not be surprised.
Judas took it.
Or that one guy who ran up to like gather the blood as he was on the cross.
Yeah.
The one stalker.
Who was it? What was his name? Joseph of Arimathea.
Yep.
Arimathea.
He had a huge crush on Jesus.
I think, you know what? Calling it.
Yeah.
Joseph of Arimathea was a vampire.
Yes.
And so he grabbed the bowl and was like, I'm going to use this. And went and collected the blood so he could drink it. Because this being the Son of God, that blood's got to be powerful, right?
Yeah. That's got to give him at least 30 years.
I mean, shit. That's what I would do if I was a vampire back then.
Yeah, why wouldn't you drink the blood of a demigod?
Why wouldn't you? Even if you're not a vampire, why wouldn't you drink that blood?
Shit.
That's not my official theory. I believe... I don't think it's even still exists, to be honest. Because the thing is that we're never going to know. There's no way to know which one was the Holy Grail. It's not like it's sitting in a tomb somewhere with a beam of light coming down from heaven and a plaque that says, hey, this is the cup that Jesus drank from.
Yeah, it's not like it's got a UPS tracking number on it.
Yeah. That'd be weird. Unless it does because it's being shipped somewhere, but I mean, I doubt it.
Okay, but can you imagine being the time traveler that's like, I'm going to figure out where the fuck and what the fuck the Holy Grail is, and just gets a tracking device and implants it into the cup post the Last Supper, and just goes back to the future and is like, okay, where'd this bitch end up at? That
would be being a time travel. I would go steal it. Like, not for the fame and the glory or whatever, but just to see what would happen. Like, just yoink it and run away and just be like...
Maybe that's the true fate of the Holy Grail. A time traveler yoinked it, because why wouldn't they?
I'm just imagining that, like, Jesus, like, you just steal it out of his hand and run away, and Jesus is just like, hey, we were using that. How are we gonna... It's olden times right now, back now where we are. How are we... We only had the one cup. How are we gonna drink wine now?
Use a bowl. You have hands. Drink from between your fingers.
All right, guys. Well, I was just gonna give you my metaphorical blood, but since he took the wine, here we go.
All right. Remember to cut across the street, not up the road.
Right. Don't want to do the Jewish people's job for them. You know?
Not this early.
Yeah, I don't think it even exists anymore, to be honest. So.
Probably not.
But, well, looks like we have solved yet another mystery for you today. Kind of.
Oh, yeah. Quick and clean, almost.
So that wraps up this episode. As usual, if you have a mystery you want us to solve right here on the podcast, you can send an email to mysteriessolvedpodcast, all one word, at gmail.com. You can also reach us on Twitter at UMS_podcast, on Facebook at Unsolved Mysteries Solved, on the Discord channel, on the Facebook group. We have a YouTube up now. The YouTube at the moment is just basically our episodes, but like in video format. They're not like animated or anything, so don't expect much.
If we could hire an animator.
It's just a new platform, basically. So episodes will be going up on YouTube as well. But just search Unsolved Mysteries Solved on there, because I can't remember what the actual website is, because they don't give you like an @ on YouTube for your channel. Oh, there might be some actual videos coming soon. We have talked about possibly doing a live episode, like a stream on Twitch or YouTube or something.
Oh yeah, you can see all the tangents we go down and all of my brain farts when I just like zone out for like half a second and I'm like, wait, you spoke words of some kind.
Also, don't forget that we are suspending payments for the next 2 months on the Patreon. It's patreon.com/unsolvedmysteriessolved. So if you want to see what you're missing out on with the bonus monthly episodes and whatnot, now's the chance. And I don't think I have anything else. Do you have anything else, Cass?
Not currently.
Well, then we will see you right back here next week with a brand new mystery. And remember not to question us or you will be put down. And thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening, guys.
Bye-bye. Shut up, guys. This is why I don't do these things in person.
Do you often find that you need a distraction from everyday life?
Do you like true crime, conspiracy theories, paranormal stories, and other weird, dark tales?
Well, tune in and turn up Weird Distractions Podcast, where we, your hosts, Christy
and Alex,
bring you a weird distraction to help you get through the work week.
Every Sunday morning, you can find our show on Apple Podcasts, Anchor, Spotify, Good Pods, and more.
So, grab a snack, get comfy,
And make sure to lock those doors. Need a distraction? We got you.